The courtroom was abuzz with routine cases, when a 6-year-old black girl, Janice, was about to deliver a verdict that would leave the entire room smiling and craving pancakes. It was a typical morning in the courtroom, with cases being heard and decisions being made. But today, something unusual caught the judge's attention. A little girl sitting quietly in the audience. Her small frame was dwarfed by the big courtroom chairs, but her eyes sparkled with curiosity. The judge leaned forward with a warm smile. "Hello there. What's your name?" The little girl hesitated for a moment before answering softly, "Janice?" "Janice, huh? That's a lovely name. How old are you?" "6, she replied, holding up her fingers for emphasis. 6 years old? Wow. Do you go to school?" "Yes," she nodded, her voice growing a bit more confident. The judge leaned on the bench with a grin. "Tell me, what's your favorite subject?" "Is it math?" Janice's face lit up. "Yes, math." "Math? That's amazing. You must be pretty smart. Do you have any idea what you want to be when you grow up?" "A teacher," she said quickly, as if the answer had been waiting on the tip of her tongue. "A teacher. What a wonderful dream," the judge said, nodding approvingly. "Teachers make such a difference in the world. But how about today? Would you like to be a judge for the next 5 minutes and help me with a case?" Janice's eyes widened and a big smile spread across her face. "Yes," she exclaimed, her excitement drawing chuckles from the audience. "All right, Judge Janice, let's get to work." The judge turned his attention to Janice's mom, standing nearby, looking both amused and slightly nervous. "Your mom is here because she's been charged with parking on the sidewalk," the judge explained. "But let's hear her side of the story." "Go ahead, ma'am." Janice's mom cleared her throat and began. "I parked on the sidewalk at my cousin's house," she explained. "The street was so crowded because there was a party going on, and I didn't want my car to get hit. When I wanted to leave, the police were already there and I couldn't move my car." Janice listened closely, her brow furrowed in concentration. The judge turned to her with a serious expression. "Okay, Judge Janice, it's your decision. Here are your options. You can charge your mom $300 with penalties, $100 for the original fine, $50 for a reduced fine, or nothing at all. What do you think is fair?" Janice leaned her chin on her hand, mimicking the thoughtful pose she'd probably seen the judge use earlier. The room fell silent as everyone waited for her verdict. $50, she finally said, her voice clear and firm. $50? The judge asked, raising an eyebrow. "Are you sure? You could charge her $100, you know. That's the original fine." Janice shook her head, her decision unshaken. "No, 50 is fair." The judge smiled at her confidence. "Fair and kind. I like that," he said. But then he leaned in with a playful twinkle in his eye. "How about we make a deal instead? If your mom promises to buy you breakfast as soon as you leave here, I'll dismiss the fine completely. What do you think?" Janice's face lit up with delight. She turned to her mom, who was already laughing and nodding. "Okay," Janice said eagerly. The room broke into laughter and applause as Janice beamed with pride. Her mom reached down to take her hand and they walked out of the courtroom together, her mom whispering, "You did great, Judge Janice." As they left, the judge called after them with a grin, "Don't forget pancakes." Please, if you enjoy true story like this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more captivating stories. And tell us where you're watching from. Hope you've done? Okay, let's continue. Janice turned back with a giggle and waved. It wasn't every day that a 6-year-old got to decide a case in court, let alone earn herself a well-deserved breakfast. And for everyone watching, it was a reminder that kindness, fairness, and a little creativity can make justice sweet, and even delicious. The room erupted into laughter and applause as Judge Janice, still beaming with pride, took her seat next to her mom. She had made her first official ruling as a judge, and everyone knew it would be a moment to remember. Janice's mom, holding her daughter's hand, smiled down at her. "I can't believe you just dismissed the fine for breakfast," she said, chuckling. "You really know how to make a deal, Judge Janice?" Janice looked up at her mom with a serious expression. "Well, I think if she's going to pay the fine, she should at least get something nice for me," Janice said, trying to sound like the grown-ups she'd seen on TV. "Pancakes are a good deal." Her mom laughed again, squeezing her hand. "I think pancakes are the least I can do for my new judge." The judge, still sitting at the bench, waved them off with a wink. "Enjoy your breakfast, Janice. You've earned it. And keep practicing that fairness. You might be back here someday making decisions for real." As they exited the courtroom, Janice felt like a tiny celebrity. People in the courthouse hallway smiled at her and nodded, some giving her high fives. "Good job, little judge," one officer called out, tipping his hat. Janice couldn't stop smiling. She was just a 6-year-old, but today she felt like she had ruled the world. And, of course, the promise of pancakes made everything even sweeter. Later that morning, Janice and her mom sat down at a nearby diner, just as promised. The smell of warm syrup and sizzling bacon filled the air. Janice slid into the booth, her legs dangling over the edge, waiting eagerly for the meal to arrive. "So, what do you think? Should I open my own courtroom someday?" Janice asked, looking up at her mom with excitement. Her mom raised an eyebrow. "You're not even in kindergarten yet. But, hey, if you can make decisions like you did today, maybe you'll be a famous judge one day." Janice thought about this seriously, her small fingers tracing the edge of her menu. "Maybe I'll even have my own courtroom on TV like those judges you see on the screen. I'll be Judge Janice. And I'll let people come in and tell me stories. And I'll give them breakfast too." She smiled brightly at the idea, already imagining herself in a shiny robe, sitting behind a big wooden desk. Her mom laughed, but there was pride in her eyes. "Well, Judge Janice, whatever you decide to do, I'll always be your biggest fan. And I'm pretty sure the world will love you too." Just as she finished speaking, the waitress arrived with a stack of pancakes taller than Janice's head, drizzled with syrup and topped with whipped cream. "Here you go, Judge," the waitress said with a wink. "A special breakfast for the best judge in town." Janice's eyes widened. She'd never seen pancakes this big in her life. Her mom laughed as she helped her stack the pancakes even higher. "I guess this is your reward for being a fair and kind judge," her mom said, handing Janice a fork. Janice dug in with gusto, savoring every bite. "Maybe I'll let my mom be the judge next time," she said with a mischievous grin, her mouth full. She deserves some pancakes too. Her mom smiled, watching her daughter eat with so much joy. "I think we both earned this one," she said. As Janice devoured her pancakes, her mind started to wander. Maybe she would be a teacher someday like she said. Or maybe she'd be a judge, running her own courtroom, making decisions based on fairness, kindness, and a good breakfast. One thing was for sure. Janice knew that whatever she decided, her future was as sweet as the syrup on her pancakes. The world was wide open for her, and with a heart full of dreams, Janice was ready to take on whatever came next. As she finished her breakfast and slid out of the booth, she looked up at her mom with sparkling eyes. "Next time, I want to judge a case about ice cream." "That sounds like a good one." Her mom laughed, and as they left the diner hand in hand, she thought to herself, "Whatever Janice decides, I'll be right here cheering her on. Whether it's ice cream or pancakes or something even bigger." As they walked out of the diner, Janice's mind was buzzing with ideas. "Maybe I'll start my own show, you know? Judge Janice's Court," she said, bouncing on her toes as they strolled down the sidewalk. Her mom chuckled and shook her head. "I think that sounds like a great idea. But what would you do on your show? What kind of cases would you judge?" Janice thought for a moment, tapping her chin. "I could judge cases about who gets the last cookie, or whether someone should be allowed to stay up late to watch their favorite show. Oh, and I definitely have a rule that everyone has to bring me ice cream when they come to court." Her mom laughed again. "I think you'd be pretty busy with all those cases. And you definitely have a lot of people bringing you ice cream. Please, if you enjoy true story like this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more captivating stories. And tell us where you're watching from. Hope you've done? Okay, let's continue." Janice grinned. "I'd have a big courtroom with a shiny desk and a gavel. I could even wear a judge's robe." She twirled around, imagining herself in front of a crowd, ruling over important matters like who gets the biggest slice of pizza or which game is the most fun. As they continued walking, Janice saw a group of kids playing in the park. One of them was holding a soccer ball, and another was riding a bike nearby. Janice's eyes lit up. "Mom, I could judge a case about soccer too. Like who's allowed to play goalie and who gets to be the captain." Her mom smiled warmly, watching her daughter's imagination soar. "You know, Janice, maybe all these ideas you have are telling you something. Maybe you're already practicing for whatever you want to do when you grow up." Janice stopped in her tracks, her eyes wide. "Do you really think so?" "Of course," her mom said, giving her a gentle hug. "Whether you want to be a teacher, a judge, or even the president of the world, you're learning to think carefully and make decisions, just like you did today. And whatever you choose, I know you'll be amazing at it." Janice beamed with pride. She hadn't really thought about it like that, but now that her mom mentioned it, it made perfect sense. She was already practicing for something big, even if she didn't know exactly what yet. "Maybe I'll judge the next big case about who gets to ride the swings first," she said with a wink. Her mom laughed. "You'd make a great swing judge too." They made their way to the park, and Janice couldn't help but feel like the world was full of possibilities. There were so many things to explore and decide, and each one felt like an adventure waiting to happen. As they reached the park, Janice noticed a group of kids gathered around the swings, arguing about who would get to go first. The familiar sound of playful squabbles filled the air. Without missing a beat, Janice walked over, hands on her hips, looking every bit like the judge she imagined herself to be. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice firm but friendly. "I'm Judge Janice and I'm here to settle this case." The kids turned to look at her, some skeptical, others curious. Janice stepped forward, her small voice steady and confident. "Whoever has been waiting the longest gets to go first, and no one is allowed to argue. Court's in session." The kids stared at her for a moment, then burst out laughing. They couldn't believe how seriously she was taking it, but they loved it. One by one they took turns on the swings and Janice made sure everything was fair. It wasn't a big case, but it was important to her, and that's what mattered. Her mom stood by, watching with a proud smile. "Looks like Judge Janice is on the case again," she said, shaking her head in amusement. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange, Janice's mom called her over. "Okay, sweetie, it's time to head home." Janice paused, still watching the kids on the swings. She wasn't ready for the day to end. It had been so full of fun and she had felt so powerful, like she could make the world a better place, even if it was just one case at a time. Before they left, Janice turned to her mom and asked, "Do you think I'll really get to be a judge someday? Like in a big courtroom?" Her mom knelt down to her level, smiling warmly. "I think you could do anything you set your mind to, Janice. Maybe you'll be a teacher or a judge or something else amazing. But the most important thing is that you keep being kind, fair, and thoughtful like you were today." Janice hugged her mom tightly, her heart full of dreams and possibilities. She didn't know exactly what the future held, but she felt confident it would be exciting, filled with new adventures and opportunities to help others. As they walked home, Janice kept talking about her plans for her future courtroom, her ideas for fair decisions, and what kind of judge she'd be. And through it all, her mom listened, loving every moment of it. The day had been full of surprises, and Janice knew that even though she was small, her imagination was limitless. She could be anything. A teacher, a judge, or maybe someone who changed the world in her own way. For now, though, she was content to enjoy her pancakes, her fair decisions, and most importantly, her mom by her side. Please, if you enjoy true story like this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more captivating stories. And tell us where you're watching from.